Is it better to invest in One Piece or is it better to invest in Pokemon? That's what we'll be answering in today's video. There are different pros and there are different cons of both trading card games. So that's what we'll be covering to get an unbiased opinion on which one is worth investing in, or maybe which one is worth investing in more. Maybe you'd want to grab a little bit of both. So that's what we'll be talking about in today's video. Now I was able to make up this video with my opinion, a card shop owner, a ribbon shipper, and also a One Piece expert. So you get a nice wide opinion. You're not just getting one person, you're getting a whole group of people who are very involved in both TCGs giving their opinion, so we can have the most accurate score possible. Now before we begin, I just want to clearly say currently I'm at 787 subscribers, so closing in. Realistically, this giveaway is probably going to be finished in like 48 hours from now. I'd probably say this video and then maybe one more, and then I'll probably close in on 1,000 subscribers. But for anyone who doesn't know, I'm currently doing a giveaway where all you need to do is like, subscribe, and comment on this video and the 3 previous videos. So the 3 previous videos, this one, and then however many videos required until I hit 1,000 subscribers, then I will pick one random comment from those. Then you will win this booster box. I will ship it wherever you are in the world. I don't really mind. Just, yeah, we can figure that out in DMs. So yeah, if you want to increase your chances, your best bet is to comment over all videos. But yeah, so that's the first requirement. And the second one is you are not allowed to tell me what you pull, because if you tell me that you pull something good, I have a very long history of giving free packs and then people pull top chasers. There was once where I just gave this guy a free Pokemon pack. Dude just pulled 151 Charizard. For anyone who doesn't know, top chase of the set, 1 pack, dude just pulled it. This has happened so many times, so it really does, bro. That's like a $200 card. I'm not going to be able to mentally handle if you pull a 15 grand card. So I want you to pull one, but I don't want to know it. So those are the 2 rules. So yeah, anyways, let's get on with the video. So since this is being uploaded on my One Piece channel, we'll talk about the One Piece pros, then we'll talk about the Pokemon pros, then we'll talk about the One Piece cons, and then we'll talk about the Pokemon cons. So let's just start off with the One Piece pros. So the biggest pro that One Piece has is that it's so new, meaning that there is a lot of potential gains you can make. You see, with other trading card games, when they become very old, you have a lot of people who routinely buy every single set. They buy thousands and thousands of dollars. So it's like, even if it's a good set, even if it's a bad set, you already got a load of investors ready to buy into it. The thing about One Piece is because it's very new, it doesn't have that level of investors, and that's a really big thing. Very little investors, very new, very high potential. That's why we're seeing 1-year-old sets like $650. PRBO1 is a 1-year-old set, $650. OP09, 1-year-old set, closing in at $300. OP05, 2-year-old set, $550. A blue bottom, that's a 3-year-old set, and that is like $5,000. Name any 3-year-old set from any other trading card game, that's $5,000. You literally can't. That's the returns you see when you invest in these new trading card games. So with One Piece, I would probably say that these really massive returns are going to last until like OP30 or OP40. Once you close in on that many sets, generally people start to wake up to it. But with ones like OP13, right? Like if you invest in OP13, it might actually be the best buy across every single trading card game. Magic the Gathering has some okay buys right now. I know Spider-Man Collector Box is dumping pretty hard, and it is a pretty good set. It has some very expensive chases. Pokemon definitely has some good buys right now, but if I'm being honest, if you really look at the broad view of things, maybe the first box of Riftbound is a decent buy. Maybe there's a couple like other unknown boxes, but for the most part, this might be just the very best investment you can possibly make right now. It is the best set of One Piece, and I'm not going to spend the whole video just shilling OP13, but nonetheless, if you're investing in a new TCG, the biggest pro is that you have such high potential to make such large returns. Alrighty, pro number 2 for One Piece is that the sets are more obvious on what will age well. So for other trading card games, you can have certain things that can destroy a set. So let's just use Pokemon as an example. You can have way too much hype on when a set comes out, then once the dust settles, people decide they don't like the set. Or you can have the other way around where everyone says a set is crap, so you're thinking, all right, I'm going to stray away from that, and then it does really, really well. The thing about One Piece is it's very crystal clear, right? Like when OP01 came out, you know, you've got base set. When O5 came out, it was crystal clear. At the time, that was the best box. Then you had OP09 come out, you had EB02 is another good one, then you've got PRBO1, then you got OP11, OP13. All of these are clear that they're good sets. Whereas a lot of other trading card games, you'll see that a lot of times the sentiment can change, but with One Piece, it does seem like people are very set in stone on what they like. Like, I wouldn't expect royal blood to just randomly explode. I wouldn't expect, like, 500 years in the future to just go, you know what, I'm going to be the third most expensive booster box. Like, you're not really going to see that. So it's a lot more crystal clear, which lowers your chances of investing in something that's popular now, but then no longer becomes popular in the future. Once again, it is a 3-year-old TCG, so there's not much data to go based off, but based off the data we do have, there's been no set where people regard it as a really good set, but then now people don't like it. Alrighty, the third pro is that One Piece is already huge. You're already investing in a winner of a TCG. You're already investing in a massive IP. It's the biggest manga, one of the biggest animes. Whenever you go to conventions or anywhere where there's like pop culture, maybe card shows, a lot of the time One Piece is so popular. I mean, how many times do you see people with a straw hat? How many times do you see people buying swords? Any store that ever has swords, it always has Zoro swords. There's always One Piece. Like, I feel like it's everywhere, right? Like, that influence that One Piece has, it definitely has a pretty big influence. So that is what you're investing in, that IP. You're not investing in a new IP. You're not investing in a random anime, but also you're not investing in an anime that is only big in one country. The thing about One Piece is it's big in a bunch of different countries. That's a really big thing. You don't want to invest in something where it's generally monopolized by like one country. You want to invest in it where it's big in different languages and it's popular across many countries. That's a really solid buy. So with One Piece, you're investing in an IP that has already proven itself. The hardest job is the IP becoming popular, but that's already done. Like, that's good to go. Now it's almost like you reap the rewards of it in a sense. Alright, now let's talk about the pros of Pokemon. So the biggest pro that Pokemon has is its age. It is almost 30 years old. That is amazing. So the thing about this is that when you have something this old, in theory, it should mean that it won't go up a lot, right? It should mean that it doesn't really average a lot. But Pokemon is just not the case. Pokemon still continues to blow our minds every single era. Every single era, people say the same thing. They're like, all right. The previous era went up, but this one won't. And then people do the same thing. All right, okay. I get what I said about that one, but this new one, and they do the same thing every single era. Literally every single era. It continues to blow people's expectations out the water. It continues to stay hot. It has such a good track record, so that's definitely a big pro. Another pro is that it's pretty much too big to fail, and that is because Pokemon is the largest IP in the world. There would have to be World War 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 for Pokemon to become like irrelevant. Like, there would have to be a large gap for like multiple generations to forget about it. It is just too big to fail. Speaking of too big to fail, it has gone through multiple recessions, multiple economical pullbacks, and it has done just fine. Maybe not in those couple years, like it survived the 08 crash, 2020, that economical pullback. It actually went up during then, which was kind of cool. But the thing is that you can still see that even during the quiet times, it's not like it just goes bust, right? Like with One Piece, there is a little bit of risk. Like if another 08 level crash happened, would the One Piece TCG survive? I think it would. I think it's put its foot in the door. Like, yes, it's very new, but it's still very cool. It's still quite popular, right? So I think it would be fine. But what I can absolutely say is Pokemon 100% would be fine. Maybe not short term, but the thing is, it would recover and it would continue to thrive, and it would turn its back from whatever crash many years later, and it would just continue to go forward. So that is a big benefit. It's done it in the past. It'll do it again. Alrighty, and the final pro with Pokemon is that it's very sustainable long term. With Pokemon having over 1,000 Pokemon, with there being popular trainers, then you got all these different types, like you got Gold Stars, Tag Teams, Alt Arts, VMAX, Vs, GXs, Prime Cards, then you've got like 30th Anniversary, like different like reprints and remakes, and you've got all these different things. It's just, it's so sustainable because there are so many popular Pokemon, and you can see that they're always trying to like push out more Pokemon to eventually become popular. Obviously, they can't just make 1 million Gengars, they can't make 1 million Giratinas, but they have enough Pokemon where they can cycle through them, right? Like, I feel like there's enough popular ones where they can do like 1 Giratina, 1 Rayquaza, 1 Charizard, 1 Mew, 1 Mewtwo, and like every single, you name like 100 plus popular Pokemon, like per era. But the things, they don't even have to do it 1 per era. They could do it like once every second era, right? Like shiny Pokemon. That's usually something they do once an era, so it stays quite fresh. And then you got like Megas, and then you got Tag Teams, and all these different things. It's very sustainable. Alrighty, so that was the pros for both of them. Let's look at the cons. The cons of One Piece. The first con is that it's 3 years old. This is a double-edged sword. This is a two-sided coin. Yes, there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of risk. There's a severe amount of risk. There are so many things we haven't seen. What happens to sets once they go out of rotation? Do sets become irrelevant because better sets replace them? What happens when there's an economical pullback? What happens when the One Piece anime is finished? What happens to all these different questions, right? See, Pokemon we don't have to worry, but with One Piece there's all these different things. I'm sure they'll overcome them. I'm sure every single challenge will present itself and it'll have some struggle, but I'm sure it'll overcome it. But it's still a risk, nonetheless. That's still the thing. It hasn't had a chance to prove itself in some serious economical pullback or different shifts in pop culture. When the anime is done, maybe One Piece becomes irrelevant. I doubt it will, but it hasn't proven it won't, so that's still a possibility on the table. Once again, I don't think it'll happen, but it can happen. And another con is that Bandai owns it. This is the thing. Bandai stuffed up the Dragon Ball Z TCG, and that was, wasn't fun. A lot of people lost a lot of money, and it's pretty much dead now, and no one really talks about it. They could do the same with One Piece. Now, they've done a fantastic job with One Piece. They've shown they've changed. They've shown their competence. They've shown their ability to run a trading card game. So they've definitely improved, but they also don't have a good track record. So trust will be built over time. That's the thing. When the One Piece TCG firstly started, everybody looked around and they were like, I don't know, should Bandai really be the ones who are allowed to make this? And, people were a little bit hesitant. They're like, I don't know. It's looking good though. But still, they still don't have a good track record. And the final con of One Piece is that sourcing it is so difficult. So One Piece is just... I don't know, man. It's really difficult. So first of all, let's just talk about treasure packs from OP13 booster boxes. So because they had the bright idea of not putting it inside of the booster box, they really should have, but they didn't, so it's whatever. The problem was a lot of card shops, for every booster box the card shop would order, then they would get a treasure pack. Problem was that when they got the treasure packs, they just kept them and then sold them. They didn't include it into booster boxes. Very few card shops did. Most card shops did. Or even if you then bought a whole case, maybe they'd only give you one or two. A couple of people commented on my video saying that. Now I got quite lucky. My local card shop, I got a treasure pack for every single OP13 box I bought. So I got kind of lucky there, but I know a lot of people didn't. So there's a serious sourcing issue. That's one example. Another thing is that most big box stores don't really sell booster boxes. A couple of them sell blisters, not even that many, but a couple. The problem is that they don't really sell booster boxes. So there's very few options to get these booster boxes. And when the market is hot and when they're kind of difficult to source, generally the few sources that do sell it just up their price. So the only place you can even have hope of getting it is a card shop that'll just bump up their price when they can. That was a big problem with OP13 when it came out. I don't know if any of you guys remember, but for anyone who was there, you would know that it was extremely difficult to get booster boxes because it was such an anticipated release. So even the pre-orders were so expensive. Any place that had it pre-sold at retail sold out, at least for locally, in Australia, months prior before it released. When it released, no card shop would sell for MSRP. They would sell it way above. Restocks and reprints, it would always be way above. So it was the only way that OP05 ever became cheap was when the market cooled off after its massive hype wave, late 2023, early 2024, when the market really cooled off. Well, then what happened was there was a massive reprint for OP05, and then it did have a chance to dip. Now, it barely dipped. It really didn't dip that much. It did dip, the amount was large, but it didn't last long. It was only a month. But still, at least you got a chance to get it somewhat cheap, so yeah. But anyways, the point is sourcing it is just annoying. OP13, I'm telling you right now, this is going to be hell on earth to source. The second wave has already come and gone, but they usually don't reprint booster boxes that much. So you got a question how long until they reprint this again? Just something to think about. So that is a big thing with One Piece. Alrighty, now let's talk about the cons of Pokemon. So, a big con with Pokemon is that you have too many investors in it. Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing, but what it means is that a lot of this demand we're currently seeing with Pokemon are vendors, investors, shops buying and selling to each other a lot of the time. Most of the time, that is why Pokemon is so liquid. When you sell 10 booster boxes to somebody, do you really think they're cracking 10 booster boxes? I'll tell you what, when people crack 10 booster boxes of this, fair enough. No one's cracking 10 booster boxes of a modern set, because you can just buy like 5 of the top chase with that. With Pokemon, a lot of time it's more about the thrill and the nostalgia and the enjoyment of opening up the pack. With One Piece, it's like straight down to business. We're here for the manga and that's it, right? Well, unless you're playing the card game. But for the collecting side of it, a lot of time it's just the big card and it's like a $10,000 card or a $5,000 or $3,000 card. With Pokemon, a lot of time the top chase being like considered expensive is like 300, 400, $500. So with Pokemon, a lot of the time when you have those big sales, in fact, all the time, no one's cracking that. It's all just people investing. It's literally just someone buys a booster box. Essentially, it's a bit of a Ponzi scheme. Now, One Piece will probably have this in the future. They don't have this right now. That's why it's not a con for One Piece. It'll probably happen in the future, like maybe in 10 years' time. But with Pokemon, I buy, let's just say, Surging Sparks Early Trainer box. And I go ahead and I buy it for $50 or $70, and then it goes up to $200. I sell it. There's like a one in there's like a 3 in 4 chance the person I'm selling it to is just a sealed collector, or they're an investor and they're just planning to hold on to it. Like, I actually genuinely do question, like, the trading card side of it. Like, actual singles is a different story. Singles, no investors really touch singles. So a lot of times singles don't really go up as much as sealed. But the reason is because most of the singles demand is organic. The thing about booster boxes is every single time someone buys a factory case, which is 6 booster boxes in their case, a lot of time when people buy that, no one's buying that to crack. A lot of time you can just buy the top chase, even as a PSA 10. So most of the time, it's just investors. So this is definitely a con with Pokemon, and I do question the long-term sustainability of it. Realistically, there's a lot of fans with Pokemon. It's just right now with Pokemon, it's really overinflated because of investors, like really overinflated. If there were no investors in Pokemon, booster box would have been no more than like $150. It's more than that because investors and scalpers keep buying it up. But also, I'm not just saying those, people who live in their mom's basement. I'm talking about rip and shippers who sell it for $20 a pack. I'm talking about people who buy it but then like put it in their card shop to sell it for like $300 a booster box. I'm putting everybody in this list, right? So that's the thing about sealed product. That's the thing that comes to Pokemon. And it's the same thing as like when you go to a card show and people are doing a $10,000 deal, a lot of the time it's a business deal. A lot of the time it's two people that are both in it for the money. One person is exiting their position, the other person is using their exiting as an opportunity to enter a position in said item. I'm not going to say very rarely, but like most of the time, people just aren't really collecting a brown cardboard case of boxes. So that is the difference. I know tons of people who are in One Piece and they just crack 10 booster boxes or 20 booster boxes because there's an incentive. You've got a 15 grand card in here, raw. As a PSO 10, it's probably like 25 plus grand. Obviously, people are going to want to open up a case of it. A case is like $2,500/$3,000. That's worth it. So there is that slight part that it doesn't worry me. I don't think it's too much of a problem, but in this market it is. But when the market cools off and it goes back to like $100, and the market's a little bit more chill with Pokemon, this won't really be an issue. Right now, it's just so overinflated because of how many people are investing into it. So that is definitely something to think about. Now, on the topic of people investing in Pokemon, this is another con, is that you also have people who are solely investors. They're people who have a lot of money and they're now attracted to invest in Pokemon. And the reason why, for anyone who doesn't know, the Wall Street Journal made a post about Pokemon 2 months ago, 3 months ago, about how it's outperforming every asset class. Now, the problem is when you attract big money, it doesn't become someone who's dropping 5K or 10K, it becomes someone who's dropping $10 million. That's where you have a problem. And then these people, they'll go ahead and go, oh, you know what, this booster box, I'm up 50% of my money, I dropped 10 mil, all right, I'm going to sell it all. And that can really affect its price long term. Because what happens is, there's more demand for the box, because you have, say, one person that has $10 million, they drop $10 million in Pokemon. So what happens is Pokemon look at that and go, oh, well, this set, we sold $10 million more, so we have to keep the printers up. We've got to keep them going. You got to remember that when a set is in rotation, One Piece and Pokemon, they're very different. Well, okay, Bandai and Pokemon are very different. Bandai, a lot of the time, don't reprint boxes. Like, PRB hasn't gone to reprint. EBO1 hasn't gone to reprint. I don't believe EBO2 is going to reprint. A lot of these boxes don't get reprinted. So the thing is, it's very different to Pokemon. Pokemon, a lot of the time, they're doing their absolute best to keep everything as cheap as humanly possible. Pokemon are always making sure that boxes are way below MSRP. Like, most of the time with booster boxes, they're like $100. So the problem is, what's going to happen is, when the market cools off and you're going to have a lot of smart money, seeing what happened in 2025, let's just say it's 26, 27, 28, they're going to see that the new Pokemon box is $100 and they're going to go, oh, $100. All right, well, I can just call up a supplier. I can get it arranged at, let's just say, wholesale of $80, $90. Money talks. If you're going to drop $10 million, it doesn't matter if you have a store. Someone's going to make a deal with you. So the thing is, what's going to happen is these people are going to drop all this money on it because now they're confident in it. Very large IP, been here for 30 years. So then what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to drop money into it, and then it'll really struggle to go up, because then Pokemon will go, oh, this booster box, we usually sell 10 million boxes, let's just say, in the first year. Well, this one, we sold 20 million. However, half of those are purely investors who's going to sell it once it goes up 50%. You're not going to see us with One Piece for years. For so long. So that is definitely something to consider. Now, there are a couple things. Pokemon, people do rip it a lot, and there still is a lot of people who open it up. So I'm perhaps exaggerating it just a little bit. Maybe I'm just making it a little bit too intense. But at the same time, Pokemon is now really attracting big money, whereas One Piece, no one is investing in One Piece. Literally no one. I know it feels like everybody is. People are jumping on One Piece. Give it 2 to 3 months and people will be gone. People aren't going to bother with it. People do the same thing with every single trend. Labubus, the Chinese card for Pokemon was a huge trend. Some like Japanese exclusives. Whenever there's trends, people just jump on it and leave immediately. The same thing happened with OP05. Like, OP05 was like 250, 260 plus. And then you got to remember, on the same year, it went down to like 120 for about a month, because a bunch of people left, that a bunch of artificial demand entered the market, and then those people left, and then now it got a reprint, and then happy days. So who knows? Maybe the same could happen with OP13. I realistically don't know. Me personally, short term, it doesn't really bother me. I don't really plan to sell these for a good while anyways, so it doesn't really concern me. So that's the one thing to consider with Pokemon, is that it is becoming quite official. This is great news for collectors, because this means that, like, some boxes will stay cheap for a good while. I don't know why I pointed out Decimals. That's probably not going to be in this situation. It's probably going to be in like a couple of years' time. But I would see that being an issue where you have really large money putting in a lot of money. I think 2025 has really changed a lot of people's opinions whenever it comes to collectibles. A lot of people are realizing that it's definitely not just, cardboard. There is more to it. So the big thing were like baseball cards, basketball cards. However, slowly but surely, it's moving to Pokemon. And then like 10 or probably 15 years in the future, then that money is going to slowly make its way to One Piece. But that's going to be really far away from me. So these are the pros and cons of both. They definitely have their benefits. Me personally, if you're wondering what I'm doing, I am investing, for every dollar I invest in One Piece, I invest $4 into Pokemon. The reason why is because Pokemon is still doing amazing. It is still crushing New York Times. It's constantly amazing people. Every single era, people think like, all right. The previous era, it did this, but the next era is not going to. It's still doing amazing. I know a lot of people have moved to One Piece. This is the thing that it really goes to show this is where a lot of the demand is, and it kind of makes you second guess if these prices are actually sustainable, because a lot of people who watched my Pokemon channel, they now watch my One Piece channel, and they've just already started shit talking Pokemon. They said Pokemon is trash. Oh yeah, Pokemon's gone to zero. Oh, the artwork's ugly, blah, blah. It's like, dude, you were literally just saying how much you love Pokemon 1 month ago. So it does kind of make you think, how long until they start doing the same thing for One Piece? So there's definitely something to consider. These prices that the current market is in is quite amazing. I don't really see a lot of the older boxes going down, but there is definitely a possibility that this could go down to the low 200s. I mean, when I say low 200, I mean like 200 or maybe like 190, because there are so many people who have entered it, sucked up all the supply, and then just have gone, oh man, I love One Piece, Pokemon sucks. And it's like, well, dude, hey, I love One Piece, don't get me wrong, but I'm not just going to go ahead and shit talk Pokemon. Pokemon is still king, absolutely. I'm not just going to glaze One Piece on this channel and then glaze Pokemon on the other channel. I'm going to share the same opinion on both. I still prefer Pokemon. If someone pointed a gun at me and said you have to invest in one, I'd pick Pokemon any other day. I'd always pick Pokemon. So I'm going to be clear with you. But at the same time, I do see serious potential with both. And there's actually a good possibility that even though I'm investing 1/4 into this versus Pokemon, there's actually a small chance that in 10 years' time, they will be worth the exact same amount. Even though I'm investing 25% less in One Piece, the reason why is because this box, I feel like, has much better potential than a lot of other Pokemon boxes at the current time. So this being $200, I could see this being more expensive than some Pokemon boxes which are $400 right now, or $500. I could just see that happening, considering what happened with PRB, 01, OP05, OP09. Like, these boxes move really quickly. So in 1, 2, 3 years time, maybe this is a $600, $700, $800 booster box. And I honestly, does honestly seem like a possibility to me. So in maybe 10 years time, if I keep that formula, I keep it going, well, there's a good chance that in 10 years time, they're going to be identical value. So yeah, it's all about risk versus reward. For me, I know that you don't have to invest a lot into this to like do really well. And that is the beauty about it. Like, even if you own one box, like, whoever wins this box, like, you can keep it sealed if you want. Like, you can open it, you can keep it sealed. I don't really care what you do. But dude, if you keep this sealed, like, in 10 years' time, this is going to be a couple $1,000s. Like, this is going to save you on a rainy day. If you want to keep this sealed and just forget about it, yeah, you do you, boo. You're absolutely, yeah, that's great if you want to do that. If you want to open it up as well, that's also great. But yeah, that is definitely the pros and cons of both. So yeah, it definitely does depend on what situation you're in. My situation might be different to yours, and then your situation might be different to mine. So what I do may not work for you. So there's definitely something to take into consideration. Perhaps you know something that I don't. Perhaps you know a Bandai employee, and like, I don't know, maybe it's like under new management, so like the previous team was fired or something like that. Like, I don't really know. Maybe you know something that's like makes you 100% conviction with it. So yeah, but yeah, anyways, let me know what you guys think about this comparison in the comments. But don't forget to enter the giveaway. But that is going to do it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching.